Uh, Good morning to all of you. And yes, good morning to. Yeah, this is going to be a very difficult task to finish in 15 minutes, so I'll have a rush. Please excuse me. So it's a process of developing medical professionals. Involves students and teachers who respond to medical needs of the society. And the society keeps changing. As a result, medical needs and awareness of the needs keep. And the practice of medicine and teaching of medicine could be traced back to 2500 BC in ancient universities of India. Different systems developed in different parts of the world. Common feature of all these systems probably was the attribute to karma or committed sin and hoping to heal through prayer. Medications were considered as second option for or accessory. The medical professionals were regarded as persons gifted with healing powers. Teaching was mainly by apprenticeship. The students followed the guru. It was a family profession and many instances. When the healer died, another member of the family became the healer. If a system of educating existed, the dominant student became. It appears to have originated the allopathic system in the 5th century BC in Greece by Hippocrates. He introduced observation and reasoning. This system developed into the modern medicine of Western medicine through organized research and sharing. The island received Siddha system of medicine from South India, Ayurveda system from North India, Unani system with the arrival of Muslims, and homeopathy and allopathy with the arrival of Europeans. The European used their system to treat them and their soldiers, only it was not percolated into the. So the allopathic system was introduced by missionaries from USA, and the first was just people exposed to medicine, not really doctors. In 1816, with the mission they came. The intention of the American mission had been to work in India, but the East India Company forbade such an inclusion at that time, so they had to travel to. Actually, they landed in Goa and through Colombo. Even there, they had difficulties, so they ended up in Kalipata. And Don Scudder, first medical missionary, medical doctor. His dispensary was a thatched hut in Pandataru. Right, that was his dispensary. He left Jaffna for Madras in 1836 and later shifted to Vellore. And Dr. Ida Scudder, founder and principal emeritus of Vellore Christian Medical College, was a granddaughter of this John Scudder. Now, for us, this is a most important person. He was from Boston and he went to Madras, and from there he landed in Coimbatore, entered Jaffna Peninsula, and that was his portrait as he came. And he observed ignorance and superstition was rife, and the common diseases were cholera, smallpox, lung infection, probably tuberculosis, an itch, perhaps scabies, fever, probably malaria, cancer of the mouth, and diabetes. The first Tamil patient he had was a Pandit who taught Tamil to missionaries, because these people were not going to the Western doctors and they were very much patronizing the local practitioners. So this Pandit had fever which did not respond to the treatment of the local practitioners, and as a last resort they went to Greek. He diagnosed an abscess and simply drained it, and all of you know how he would improve, but the people sort of saw it as a miracle. And that was his dispensary at Manipai. Dr. Green realized the need for increasing the number of medical practitioners, and he started a 3-year course in medicine based on the curriculum in American universities at that time. The admission criteria could have been after graduation, as in America it was not specified in any books at that time, as I could see. 110 students graduated from this medical school, but at any one time there was only one batch. The graduates found employment in the newer hospitals being established by the government or as general practitioners, and also in countries like India and Malaya. Sri Lankan doctors going abroad started right from. So these were some of the graduates. So these were the dress code at that time. The course was free of charge and the students were given a stipend of about 7 shillings per month. Medium of instruction was English initially and changed to Tamil in 1864, and he translated the books into Tamil and he authored several books in Tamil. The reason for the change of media, two reasons were given. I don't know exactly what, but one was to increase the intake to meet the needs for doctors, and the other was since the graduates did not stay to serve the local population, he thought of teaching them in Tamil. Two different versions. Anyway, during the latter part of 19th century, Dr. James Luce, who was a colonial surgeon for the northern province. I mean, the administration had colonial surgeons in charge of health in various provinces, and according to him, I recommend the adoption of a plan for medical education in the island itself. This good work is to a certain extent being carried out among the Tamils by Dr. Green, but I think the benefits of improved medical practice deserves to be extended to other districts of the island and other classes of the community. You can underline that word, other classes of the community, and to protect patients from untrained quacks. And this can be best accomplished by the establishment of a medical school in Colombo. So this led to the establishment of Colombo Medical School under British guidance and British teachers on the 1st of June 1870 with 25 students, 3-year course, £2 per session. And the government decided to reduce its grant of rupees 2000 per year to the Manipai Medical College and reduce it to 1000 and stop. And this resulted in the closure. The reason behind this change in the policy of the government is not very clear. And Dr. Green, according to one of his letters, had done over 5,000 operations, and he claims to have given the message of gospel at least to that number of persons. He has mentioned in one of his letters that the mission wanted to change the natives into Christianized Tamils, but ended up as Europeanized Hindus. Dr. Green was very happy that native physicians bought his medical textbooks, and some of them sent their sons to study Western medicine under him. He returned to America due to ill health in 1858, returned in 62, and worked till 73. And on his demise in 1884, Dr. Benjamin A. Mills stated, during Green's time, Jaffna was regarded as the headquarters of Western medical science in Southeast Asia. We are giving this Samuel Green Memorial Prize to the best student at our convocation to remember him. And that was his last will to engrave medical evangelist of the Tamils, and that has been done to his gravestone. And that was his picture when he left. Then the second medical faculty was opened in Peradeniya in 1964. Next two faculties, third and fourth, in Jaffna and Galle. More medical faculties in existence in Kelaniya, Sri Jawatanapura, Battikalo and Anuradhapura. The last three were faculties of medical sciences because the time they thought we had to include the nursing and the paramedical sciences also into the medical faculty. So the faculties were named as faculties of medical sciences. Two attempts to establish private medical schools in late 80s failed. North Colombo Medical Faculty became the Kelaniya Medical Faculty later. North Lanka Medical Faculty, which merged with our faculty. Now a faculty in Defence University is in operation, and a private medical faculty in Malabay is in operation. So we are growing. Evolution of the medical curriculum. The medical schools remained with British curricula until 50s. By then it was realized that education did not suit the population served. After that, the first medical education unit in Sri Lanka was established in Peradeniya after Varagunam's training, Professor Varagunam, and this made a big impact. And Jaffna faculty, Professor C. Sivanjanasundaram, Professor Hoover, and Professor Parameswaran were the founder academic staff, and Sivanjanasundaram and Parameswaran were exposed to and inspired by the changing trends in Peradeniya. Almost all staff members who joined the faculty during the early years were influenced by Peradeniya education system as students or as staff. I was a student there. Others were sent to train in medical education, and I got Peradeniya unit. And the faculty formulated a curriculum committee right from inception, and Professor Sivanjanasundaram took the leading role, and Professor Parameswaran was also equally involved. And workshop was organized for the faculty and extended faculty staff, that is the teaching hospital staff, on curriculum development in 1983. The main purpose was to expedite the development of an appropriate curriculum, to document it, and to involve hospital consultants in the process. And we were the faculty in the island to possess a documented curriculum by 85 to 86 period because of the efforts of Professor Sivanjanasundaram and the cooperation of the heads of departments. And most of you would have got this copy to get your recognition there. The characteristics of the medical graduate had been defined long before the concept of quality assurance and benchmark came up in the island. Subject benchmark statement in medicine was developed by representatives from all medical faculties and published by the Committee of Vice Chancellors in 2004. Superficially, Jaffna curriculum appeared to be traditional and subject based, but it had several modifications to make the course more relevant and meaningful. For example, physiology incorporated aspects of statistics by community medicine, behavioral science by psychiatry, applied anatomy and applied physiology classes were done by consultants from teaching hospital. All examination had clinicians as examiner, external examiners. Clinical subjects focused on problem-based approach for teaching. Jaffna Medical Association sessions were made compulsory. Most of you might remember those days. Clinical pathological conferences were planned, and Dr. Varman, I will remember her, and she was very keen to start this, but she had to leave because of the war situation, and all these things were disrupted. And the public health was a phobia for many teachers in the 70s. And when I, after passing out, went for the in-service training as a post-intern, one of the trainers told, "We don't train doctors to look down the drains." That kind of attitude was there. But Professor Sivanjanasundaram and Professor Malcolm Fernanda of Peradeniya, during our student days, introduced community-based learning with Hindagala project and introduced the concept of health promotion. Our community-based curriculum in Jaffna, designed by Professor Sivanjanasundaram and nurtured by Dr. Sivaraja, is expanding as community and family medicine. Professor Sivanjanasundaram took the initiative to train students in health system research through community medicine in 90, as suggested by WHO, and soon laboratory research was in the first year. And then the process of major revision after a long time commenced in 2007 under the World Bank project, and Merck of Colombo and Dr. Ponnamperuma Gominda, who is here, was one of our resource persons, along with Indiga and Professor Lalitha Mendis. And the faculty decided to integrated spiral curriculum as the ultimate target, and to adopt the SPICES model for teaching. And you all know this SPICES model, what it means. As at the moment, we are synchronizing the subjects as a first step towards the integration. And there are certain actions taken, and I think our next speaker will tell you about more about those things. And major inclusions in the personal professional development stream for soft skill and family medicine, and the scope and objectives of the clinical posting has been developed and documented as a volume 2 of the curriculum book, and this work will continue. I stop. Thank you very much.